Everyone, welcome back to Legacy. My name is Leonardo Caprelli. I'm the Academy Director here at the Football Domain Academy. So welcome back to this new episode of Legacy. And today I want to talk to you, more specifically the parents, about how to react when coaches yell at your child. Now, I've coached and I've been part of teams for over 10 years now. So I've seen and I've experienced, I've witnessed different types of parents. I've experienced the positive, encouraging ones. I've experienced the loud, aggressive ones. I've experienced the quiet ones. I've experienced them all. And three things I want to share with you today. If you're a parent of a child that plays youth football, is how do you react when your coach shouts at your child? Now, from a coaching perspective, I don't really shout when I'm on the pitch, when I'm coaching my team on game day, just because that's not my philosophy and that's not what I believe in. I believe more in trusting your players once they get onto the pitch, because the training has already been done during the week. So I'm someone that believes that kids need to be trusted and coaches need to let them play. So that's my philosophy, but not all coaches are similar. So I remember from one experience being on one team that there was an altercation between a coach and a parent on the team that we were playing against. Now, I don't condemn either one. I think both of them were wrong, and both the parent and the coach have to set the example for their team. However, I remember that it got really bad to the point where the referee had to stop the game because the parent came over to the coach's side and actually confronted the coach. Now, for a young child, for a youth footballer, this can sometimes be very intimidating. And it's very, what's the word? It's very upsetting. It can be upsetting because if you can imagine your dad coming over here and confronting the coach, who the coach has always, for the most part, has the best of intentions, and it just results in the game being delayed, and that ultimately affects your confidence as a player because you don't really want to see that. You want a positive environment where you can just play your football, have fun, whether you win, whether you lose. That is the moral of the game. So as a parent, now parents are obviously very defensive with their child, and I believe that sometimes they can become too defensive to the point where logic goes out the window. So it becomes very, you have to be very disciplined and that's where a lack of self-discipline comes in, because not all the time are you going to have your say. At some point you're going to have to step back and let someone else coach, or let someone else do their job and help your child. Now, just because you're a parent sitting back and watch and maybe listening to the coach yelling possibly at your child or possibly at another teammate, doesn't necessarily mean you're not defending them and you're not a good parent. Okay? Because as parents, we are very reactive. And what we need to do is we need to change that mindset to becoming more observed, and to become more detailed about what exactly is going on. So the first thing I always say to parents is, if a coach ever you feel the coach is shouting or yelling at your child, first thing I would do is ask your child. Okay? Ask your child how they feel. Ask them whether they feel the coach was directly yelling at them or whether it was directly at the team. Because sometimes just because the coach is yelling doesn't specifically mean it's directly at your child. So the first person that's involved in the game is your child. And I believe he's the first person you need to speak to. You need to get a reaction from them, and by reaction I mean you need to get an understanding into how they feel. Are they happy? What's their opinion on the game? Because ultimately they were on the field. They experienced the minute to minute action of what happened. And sometimes parents, because a team lost, they sometimes take it more personal than the actual child who's playing. So really, really important. First step is to ask your child how they feel and whether they felt that the coach was directly yelling at them. Now, the second one, which really and truly, I'm going to switch these round. So I'm going to switch these round because I believe the second one should be ask parents or family members. So usually when parents go to games, they like to take family members with them so they can watch their child play and compete. Okay, we all love watching our child take part in sports and compete and hopefully achieve glory or success. So second point I would say is ask any parents or ask any family members of their opinion on the game. And if you feel there's something that you need to ask, or you feel that, do you feel that he was yelling at a specific player? And see what the parents say. Okay, because everyone has a specific point of view. But when I say this, make sure that you're not specifically saying, was the coach yelling at my child? Okay, just say, do you feel the coach was yelling at a specific child? How do you feel the coach coached the game? And usually, if you ask 2 or 3 parents, they'll probably give you a more better perspective of what happened. So you were then reacting to something that may not even have happened, or you were just thinking of it in your head. Okay, so the first step, ask your child. The second point, which I did put as third, but I think this is probably more important, is to ask any parents or family members. So ask them about the game. How did the game go, do you feel? Did the coach a great game? Was he yelling at a specific player, do you feel? How does he react to players making mistakes? And just get some feedback, ultimately. And then if you feel that possibly your child said, all right, yeah, I feel the coach has been yelling at me, or you're not too sure and you've asked a parent or a family member and they say, yeah, do you know what, I think he was going a bit too strong on your child, then the last step would be to contact the coach. Now, I have a policy, and I've had this policy from all the clubs that I've been at, is that I have a 24-hour grace period. So after a game, you can't get in contact with me or talk to me about anything related to the game until after 24 hours. And the reason why I do this is because after a game, a lot of emotions are high. If it was a tight game and you lost it last minute, then a lot of things get put out of perspective and blame starts to happen, and it just becomes a very horrible, mean environment. And sometimes, and mostly, the coaches get attacked. So, the third point is ask the coach. But respect the coach. If the coach has said, right, 24 hours to get in contact with me, respect that. Okay, be the adult and then within 24 hours contact them and say, can I speak to you for 15-20 minutes about last Sunday? And if the coach says yes, absolutely, then that's where you go over your points and the information you have found or observed, analyzed, and then you share your points with the coach, and then you wait for the coach to then give you a response. Yes, I yelled at him, or yes, I was yelling, but I wanted him to do something which he wasn't doing. You know, don't just feel that because they're yelling, it's because they're doing something bad, and you have to be very protective as a parent. Yes, you have to be protective, but also it's part of the sport. And if it's yelling with a motive behind it, and if it's constructive yelling, then I believe you should do these 3 steps. Even if it's aggressive yelling, then ultimately I would probably ask your child and go straight to the coach if you can verify that your child was being yelled at in an aggressive manner. But usually when you observe your child play and you feel that the coach has been yelling at him constantly, body language is a good indicator of the confidence your child is lacking. So if your child is really confident before the start of the game, and then during the game they start to get yelled at, and then they start to drop in confidence, usually their body language starts to hang. They start to look down, they're not chasing the ball, they're not running after the ball, and they just seem a bit slower. And that's an indication that they're losing confidence. And if that's the point, then ask your child after the game, how do you feel it went? How do you feel the coach coached the game? They then say to you, yeah, I felt that the coach yelled at me a lot, he was quite aggressive. Then I would go directly to the coach, respect his 24 hours. Again, respect his time and say, can we schedule a time? If the game was on Sunday, can we schedule on Tuesday morning where I can call you up and talk about some points related to Sunday? Okay? So the key is avoid aggressiveness, avoid conflict, because your child doesn't need conflict. Football is a developmental learning environment. But just make a note that confidence is very important, and if your child isn't getting that confidence from the coach, from the leader, then you should, I believe, get in contact with a coach and ask them and say to them, listen, like, my child doesn't feel confident anymore. He was at the beginning. I feel that you might be a bit too aggressive on him. But let the coach also talk and let him defend his points, so that way you can get an educated view on how he feels, where your child's at, and the coach can understand that, you know what, I think I need to tone down a bit. Okay? So thank you for watching. If you liked what you've just seen, please give us a like and subscribe to the channel, because every week we put out content related to all things player development, such as motivation, such as how to eat better, such as confidence, mindset, everything that a young athlete needs, young footballer needs, in order to take himself to the next level and become more confident on and off the field. Okay? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.